Welcome, everyone, to another chilling Reddit horror story. Tonight, I've got something deeply unsettling to share, something that still haunts me to this day. So, dim the lights, get comfortable, and prepare for a tale that might just keep you up at night. This happened to me. By daylight, the Kotaki tunnel looks like any other roadwork projects that has long since faded into obscurity. It is a forgotten place, tucked away on the outskirts of a small, quiet town in Japan. Travelers pass through it without a second thought, moving swiftly through the tunnel's darkened archway and leaving the shadows behind them. For most, it's just another brief moment in their journey, a tunnel to get through, and nothing more. But when the sun dips below the horizon, the tunnel transforms. The air grows cold, the shadows deepen, and something far more sinister begins to stir. The Kotaki tunnel was built in 1927, during a time when the region's infrastructure was expanding rapidly to accommodate the growing population. However, the tunnel's construction was not without its tragedies. Many workers lost their lives during the process. Some died in accidents while blasting through the mountainside, others from falling rocks, and a few met their end due to the grueling working conditions. The most horrifying part of these deaths was not the accidents themselves, but the fact that the bodies of the workers were never recovered. Instead of being given proper burials, their remains were entombed within the very walls of the tunnel itself. The construction crews, desperate to complete the project on time, made the macabre decision to bury the bodies of the workers in the tunnel walls. They encased them in cement, brick, and stone, an act of deep disrespect to those who had lost their lives. The workers' spirits, disturbed by this gruesome fate, were never allowed to rest. Instead, they became trapped within the tunnel, their souls left to wander in a dark purgatory, angry and seeking justice. No one spoke much about the tragedies surrounding the tunnel when it was first completed. In fact, for decades, Kotaki Tunnel was seen as little more than a mundane passageway for vehicles, a forgotten part of the town's infrastructure. But over time, strange things began to happen. People who had to drive through the tunnel at night started reporting unusual occurrences. At first, it was dismissed as coincidence or overactive imaginations. But the stories became more frequent, and the phenomenon couldn't be ignored any longer. It begins with the temperature. As soon as dusk falls and the last light of day disappears beyond the hills, the air inside the tunnel shifts. Even on warm summer nights, the temperature drops dramatically. The damp, chilly air presses against the skin like the breath of something unseen. There is no breeze, no weather pattern that would explain the drop in temperature, yet it is undeniable. For anyone who drives through the tunnel during these hours, the change is immediate and unsettling. For those who dare to venture into the tunnel, something else begins to happen. As their headlights flicker, and their car moves deeper into the dark corridor, there is a sense that something is watching them. There's no tangible proof, no movement in the shadows, no sound, but the feeling of being watched is so strong, it's almost overwhelming. And then, if you're brave enough to glance in the rearview mirror, you might see something you weren't expecting. A figure, pale, gaunt, and motionless, sitting in the back seat. Its eyes are wide and empty, its skin almost translucent, as if it had been stripped of life itself. The first time someone notices the figure, they often assume it's a trick of the light, a product of their imagination or tired eyes. But the next time they glance in the mirror, the figure is still there, closer now, its hollow eyes staring with an intensity that sends a wave of panic through the driver's chest. It feels as though the figure is suffocatingly close, too close for comfort. Its presence so thick and tangible that it can almost be felt pressing against your skin. As you drive faster, trying to escape the feeling of suffocation, the figure remains. No matter how quickly you accelerate, no matter how far you travel, it stays with you. You can't shake the feeling that something or someone has entered the car with you, that you're no longer alone in the dark, empty tunnel. The temperature drops even further, the air thick with dread, and the figure continues to stare, its eyes following your every move. The more you try to ignore it, the more its presence seems to grow, until you're certain you're no longer driving through a simple tunnel. You're driving through a place where the living and the dead are inexplicably, irreversibly intertwined. For the brave souls who have dared to walk through the tunnel on foot, the experience is even worse. The oppressive silence within the tunnel is disorienting. The sound of footsteps echoes off the stone walls, stretching out into the dark, magnifying the sense of isolation. Some say it's almost as if the tunnel itself is alive, its walls humming with a low, unnerving vibration. As they walk deeper into the darkness, the sensation of being surrounded intensifies. The hairs on the back of their neck stand on end as though something or someone lurks just out of sight. And then there's the whispering. It begins quietly at first, just a faint rustling sound that could be mistaken for the wind or what's left of it, trapped deep in the tunnel. But as the minutes pass, the whispering grows louder, more distinct, until it feels as though dozens of voices are all speaking at once. The words are unintelligible, garbled in a mix of despair and anger. Some who have walked the tunnel claim that the voices are speaking directly to them, pleading for help, cursing them, or asking for their forgiveness. One of the most chilling aspects of the Kotaki tunnel is the sensation of time bending. Minutes stretch into hours as the darkness closes in around you, and yet, no matter how long you walk, you seem to make no progress. The tunnel feels endless. Some have even reported turning around, only to find that the entrance is no longer where they left it. The walls of the tunnel shift, closing in tighter as if the spirits within are trapping you, forcing you to relive their tragic fate. The few who have ventured into the Kotaki tunnel at night and survived to tell their stories speak of a strange pressure, an almost suffocating weight that presses down on them as they approach the far end of the tunnel. Some say the pressure comes from the spirits of the dead workers, now restless and angry, bound to the tunnel by the injustice of their final moments. Others believe that the tunnel itself is feeding off the fear and terror that have accumulated over decades of haunted memories. It's as though the tunnel becomes more powerful as each victim succumbs to the fear, as if it feeds off the souls of those who enter. And yet, despite the countless stories of strange happenings, the authorities have done little to address the issue. The Kotaki tunnel remains open, its haunting presence a constant threat to those who travel too close to it. People continue to drive through it, ignoring the tales of what lies beyond the shadows, as if the tunnel's curse cannot touch them. But for those who do believe, the Kotaki tunnel is no mere roadwork project. It's a place of mourning and suffering, an eternal reminder of the men who were never allowed to rest. The few brave souls who have tried to uncover the secrets of the Kotaki tunnel often find themselves staring into a darkness that doesn't seem to belong to this world. Some have even gone so far as to attempt seances, hoping to reach the spirits of the workers and offer them peace. But each attempt has ended in failure. The spirits, if they are still there, are too restless, too angry to listen. For many, the Kotaki tunnel is a place to be avoided at all costs. Those who travel through it at night do so in haste, their eyes fixed straight ahead, praying not to see that pale figure staring back at them in the rearview mirror. The temperature may drop, the whispers may grow louder, but most choose to ignore it, hoping that if they don't acknowledge it, the tunnel will leave them in peace. But for others, the lure of the Kotaki tunnel is too strong. They want to see for themselves what lies within, to test their courage against the spirits that haunt its depths. These daring few may think they can walk away unscathed, but the tunnel has a way of drawing people in, and once they've entered, it's not always clear if they'll make it back out. The Kotaki tunnel has become more than just a structure of stone and concrete. It has become a symbol of death, a place where the past cannot be forgotten, where the souls of the lost are forever bound in darkness. And though it may seem like just another forgotten part of the town's landscape by daylight, when night falls, the tunnel comes alive with the restless spirits of those who were never allowed to rest. And they are waiting, watching, for the next traveler to wander too far into the dark. There is no wind, no breeze, nothing to break the suffocating stillness. The air hangs heavy, oppressive, almost as if the very atmosphere is waiting, watching, holding its breath. In this silence, every sound becomes amplified. The sound of your own heartbeat echoes in your ears, each thump a reminder of your fragile existence. The soft tap of shoes against the damp ground is a constant, rhythmic sound, but even it feels intrusive in this eerie quiet. As you walk deeper into the tunnel, you feel the weight of the darkness pressing in around you. It's not just the absence of light, but something more sinister. The walls seem to close in, as though they are alive, breathing, pulsing with a strange energy. The darkness stretches on forever, wrapping itself around you, suffocating you, until you begin to wonder if it's not the tunnel that's alive, but something in it. Something watching, waiting. And then, just as you begin to feel like the silence is too much to bear, something else begins to fill the void. Whispers. At first, they're faint, so faint that you wonder if it's just your mind playing tricks on you. Soft, almost imperceptible, like the sound of wind through leaves, though there's no wind. It's hard to distinguish whether the voices belong to someone else or if they're merely the figments of your imagination. The sound dances at the edges of your perception, teasing you with its mystery. You pause, straining to hear, but the whispers fade away, swallowed by the thick silence once again. But then they return, louder, clearer. At first, you can't make out the words, but the longer you stay, the more distinct they become, each voice pleading, crying out for help. You shudder as the whispers grow in intensity, becoming a chorus of voices, all overlapping in a desperate, mournful cry. Some say the voices belong to the workers who died during the construction of the tunnel, men who were trapped within its walls, their lives lost to the unforgiving rock. Their souls, they claim, remain trapped in the darkness, forever crying out in agony, forever doomed to haunt the tunnel. The whispers continue, echoing through the air, surrounding you, making it impossible to tell which direction they are coming from. Each step you take seems to pull you deeper into the web of sound. It's as though the tunnel itself is alive, listening, drawing you further into its depths. You try to block out the voices, to ignore them, but it's impossible. You can feel them in your bones, hear them in the pit of your stomach, like a sickening weight pressing down on your chest. But the whispers aren't the worst part. No, it's the cold. The sudden drop in temperature takes you by surprise. One moment, the air is chilly but bearable. The next, it feels as though the temperature has plummeted below freezing. You can see your breath now, a cloud of mist hanging in front of you. It's like stepping into a different world, one where the warmth of the sun and the comfort of human life no longer exist. And then you feel it, a hand, cold as ice, brushing against your shoulder. You freeze. The hand isn't light or gentle. It doesn't feel like a human touch. No, this hand grips you with an unnatural force, pulling you toward the wall. The chill of it seeps through your clothing, biting into your skin, sending a jolt of panic through your entire body. Your pulse races, and you try to wrench yourself away, but the hand tightens its grip. It feels like the very wall itself is alive, pulling you in, dragging you toward the depths of the earth. You struggle, but the cold hand holds you fast, unrelenting. The tunnel seems to pulse with an eerie rhythm, and in the darkness, you feel the walls pressing in on you, threatening to consume you, to bury you just as they did the workers all those years ago. The whispers grow louder now, more insistent, their cries drowning out everything else. You fight to break free, to escape, but it's as if the tunnel has decided you belong to it now, as if it's claiming you, marking you as its own. And then, in the corner of your eye, you see it, a flicker of movement. You turn, your heart racing, and there it is, a mirror. A tarnished, aged mirror hanging in the middle of the tunnel, framed in what appears to be a time-worn, weather-beaten gold. It doesn't belong here. It shouldn't be here. The tunnel is devoid of anything human, and yet, here this relic stands, as though it has always been here, waiting. You step toward it cautiously, unable to tear your gaze away from its cracked surface. The whispers fall silent for a moment, as though the mirror itself is holding its breath. You reach out, your fingers trembling as they hover just above the cold glass. The reflection staring back at you is distorted, warped by age and decay, but you still recognize it. It's your own face. But then, something shifts. The reflection changes. You blink, your stomach lurching, and the face staring back at you is no longer your own. Instead, the mirror reveals the tortured, pained faces of the workers. Their eyes are wide, their mouths open in silent screams, their faces contorted in agony. Their features are twisted, mangled, as though they had been trapped in the walls for years, their souls writhing in torment. They stare at you, their eyes full of sorrow and rage, pleading for release. Some reach toward the glass, their hands pressing against it as if they are trying to break free. You try to look away, to turn, but it's too late. You've locked eyes with them. A chill runs down your spine, and you feel a coldness settle in the pit of your stomach. The curse has been activated. You've been marked. The moment you look away from the mirror, the whispers return louder, more insistent than before. You can hear them in your ears, feel them in your skin. The spirits of the workers are with you now, following you, their cries echoing in your mind. The days that follow are a blur. You can't shake the feeling of being watched, the sensation that something is always just behind you, lurking in the shadows. You hear the whispers when you're alone, in the dead of night, when the world is quiet and still. Sometimes, you wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, your heart pounding, as if you've been running from something. You hear the whispers, but when you turn, there's nothing there. But then, it happens. You start to feel ill-sick in a way you can't explain. It starts with headaches, then nausea, and soon, a deep fatigue that won't go away. You can't sleep, can't eat, can't think straight. The whispers grow louder until they drown out everything else. You feel like you're losing your mind, like the tunnel is consuming you, pulling you back into its depths. Some people, after experiencing this, vanish without a trace. They are never seen again, as though the tunnel has claimed them, swallowed them whole. It's said that once you're marked by the spirits in the mirror, there is no escape. For years, there have been stories, rumors passed down from one person to the next warning people to stay away from Kotaki tunnel. But some don't listen. They enter the tunnel, either out of curiosity, disbelief, or a thirst for thrill. They think they are immune to the curse, that the stories are nothing more than legends. But for those who do, the legends are real. The spirits of the dead still walk the darkened path, and the tunnel itself seems to grow more malevolent with each passing year. It is not just a passageway, it is a gateway to something darker, something beyond the veil of the living. And if you're unlucky enough to enter, you may just find yourself becoming part of its terrifying history. If you ever find yourself near Kotaki Tunnel, heed the warning. Stay far away. The tunnel's dark past is alive, and it won't hesitate to claim you as its next victim. The spirits are waiting, always watching, ready to reach out and drag you into the darkness from which there is no escape. Thank you for listening to tonight's chilling tale. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and hit that subscribe button for more spine-tingling stories. And remember, stay safe, stay aware, and always trust your instincts. You never know what might be lurking, just out of sight.